Exams give little indication of a student's real ability. Many educators and experts agree that exams alone provide limited insight into a student's true ability and potential. While exams can assess a student's understanding of specific subjects or topics within a limited time frame, they often fail to capture the comprehensive picture of a student's knowledge, skills, and potential. I used to tutor middle school students and saw firsthand how smart they were when given enough time to study and do their homework slowly, compared to studying for their major standardized testing and how it was all short-term memorization with no deep understanding of the concepts. They were constantly stressed and didn't actually remember anything after the tests. Traditional exams discern little about students' true abilities and prioritize memorization over critical thinking. And these imposed time constraints don't let us see everything that a student can do. Traditional exams, as we've discussed, push memorization and regurgitation of information. The students can't focus on essential skills of critical thinking, problem solving, creativity. This narrow focus can overlook a student's ability to apply knowledge in practical situations or think critically about real-world challenges. The pressure to achieve good grades may drive some students to resort to unethical methods, such as cheating. According to the Open Education Database, a study conducted at Fordham University found that the average GPA for cheaters was higher than non-cheaters. This shows the value placed on good grades over, the honor system. And traditional exams only focus on memorization over critical thinking. It neglects essential skills, and the pressure to achieve good grades leaves kids to cheat. Furthermore, the limitations of traditional exams, stressing memorization, and strict time constraints can increase anxiety amongst students. This narrow focus on rote memorization and the negative effects of time constraints stress students out and can impact their mental health. Time constraints in exams create additional pressure and anxiety, so they cannot fully demonstrate what they're understanding. As such, I have severe anxiety whenever I'm testing, and it definitely makes me forget some of the things that I should know on tests. And according to the National Library of Medicine, NIH, high-stake exams can have long-lasting psychological impacts beyond the exam period. So, including reduced self-esteem, burnout, academic, disengagement. The fear of evaluation and the negative consequences of exam performance, affects students' motivation and overall mental health. This is also from the psychological impacts of high-stake examinations on university students. However, in an article, Would Eliminating Time Limits Reduce Test Anxiety? They write about how eliminating time limits on exams may reduce test anxiety for some students, but it also is equally necessary to keep balance. Time limits simulate real-world scenarios where working with time constraints is crucial, and especially considering healthcare or emergency services. However, it's good to have a balance. So if everything's hanging on one timed test, that is a lot of pressure to put on students. And, further stress of examination can happen outside of the test itself. It's like, who is grading their test? Who is the test going to be seen by? And subjective evaluation in exams introduces bias and inconsistencies because there's so many different standards among different examiners. And this is according to the National Library of Medicine, The Nature of Grading Exams. Overall, high-stake exams, stress and performance anxiety can restrict students' abilities to showcase their true abilities. And it's important to consider the use of time constraints, but we should focus on ways to alleviate the pressure that causes so much anxiety for students. And now that we understand the limitations of exams as an assessment tool, we got to move forward with a more comprehensive and effective approach in evaluating students' knowledge and abilities. How do we do this? Recent recommendations from educators and professionals suggest using performance-based assessments, portfolios, projects, and other methods that capture a broader range of student skills and knowledge. They should encourage self-assessment, peer assessment that involves the student in the assessment process. Reflection is a valuable tool for students to understand their learning process and see areas for improvement. And effective questioning, that's a good technique that plays a role in promoting critical thinking, and open-ended questions encourage, critical thinking and connections and articulation of thought, which is really important for kids to understand. And this is all according to Strategies for Assessment for Learning and the Center for American Progression, CAP. Now, we should emphasize on alternative assessment methods so students can, do their own self-assessment and evaluate the work for themselves. Because, overall, the school system needs to embrace a more holistic approach to assessment. And this can be achieved by incorporating the methods I discussed previous: projects, presentation, portfolios, group work, real-world applications of knowledge. And by diversifying these strategies, educators can better capture and evaluate students' true abilities. So, in conclusion, it is clear that traditional exams have inherent limits in providing, a well-rounded assessment of a student's abilities. Because, these exams prioritize memorization and cause deep anxiety for a lot of students. So we need to diversify how we test these students, and moving forward, educational institutions need to adopt a balanced and inclusive assessment approach that transcends traditional exam boundaries. Throughout this discussion, we have explored the impacts of traditional exams and steps that can be taken to eradicate and minimize these limitations. Because traditional exams fall short. They do. And I think it's time to move forward to new assessment methods that promote the critical thinking and create less stressful environments. Because imagine a classroom where students are encouraged to think critically, solve complex problems, and showcase their unique talents. Now, contrast that with traditional exam approach and prioritize memorization and impose time constraints and overlooks the diverse abilities of students. Which one sounds better? Thank you.